So I didn't get a lot accomplished other than a lot of things went through my head. The first thing is I got a text message saying they're going to replace my garage door, the big garage door. They're going to put an electric opener on it. And I've always thought about if you had a way to automatically open your garage door, you can now have your vehicle, like say this vehicle here, I can put a remote control transmitter on and have it say open the garage door. So you could have it theoretically automated to the point where, let's say 8 a.m. or at midnight, have the thing wake up, open the garage door, drive out, close the garage door, and then go mow the yard or whatever. So that's something that might give me a little more incentive if I have the ability to say push a button and open the door. And there's probably a couple ways. One, I thought you could just go out to Amazon and get a replacement, um, remote like you'd carry around in your car, and you just put a relay across the push button on that. So you just activate the relay, and that tells the door to open. Or, usually when they put these in, they'll put like a doorbell button inside of your garage somewhere, so you can just push that and it opens it. So again, you can just put a relay across that, and then you could have a microcontroller and hook it up to your home network. So if you wanted to, you could be in Chicago and open your garage door, or if you put sensors on, so you've got one sensor says that the door is fully open, one says it's fully closed, and if neither one of those are true, that means it's somewhere in between, either stuck or just stopped in between. So that's the thing. You could be out driving around, think, "Oh crap, I left my stove on, or I left my garage door open." So you could go on the thing and say, "Close my garage door," and then have it, from anywhere in the world, you could have it do that, because it'd be tied into your home network, and then your vehicle could talk to your home network. So just kind of a roundabout way to do that. So anyway, I thought about that just because this whole thing's coming up where they're gonna do that door. Next thing that came up was I got junk to get rid of, and I had this big HP plotter, and I got it loaded in my car. I was going to take it over with electronics recycling. On the website it says we do not take big stand up plotters. So, oh, yeah, that's not gonna work. So I started to negotiate with some other guy. He didn't want to play the game, so I took it up to the our local surplus store. We got three Axeman surplus stores in town, and I just drove up there and I said, "Do you want this?" And I had some plastic wheels that I bought there over the years. They were like wheelchair wheels, and they still had Axeman stickers on. So first they said, here's these, you can have these. And then I said, I got this plotter in my car. He went out and looked at it. He said, yeah, we'll take that. So we unloaded that. So they've got my plotter now. And then while I was there, I looked around, and they have a whole stack of like power converters and power inverters, converters and inverters. And I found one that was 150 watt pure sine wave inverter, and it runs on 12 volts. It's got like the cigarette lighter plug on it, and it's got two 120-volt outlets on the side of it. And for some reason, I thought I wanted to get a pure sine wave inverter, and I can't remember why I needed that now. I probably, if nothing else, if you got fancy electronics, it might prefer, the um, clean AC as opposed to that stepped sine. What do they call that? They have some cute name for that. Approximated sine wave, or anyway, whatever it is, the regular, like regular inverters and probably the UPS power supplies put out that um, funny simulated sine wave that's just a stepped square wave. So anyway, so I found that and thought, okay, I don't really need this, but I'm going to take it up the counter, and I was going to pay $15 for it. The guy says, well, since you just gave us other stuff, we'll just call it even. I said, okay, that works out great for me. So I got a power inverter for free, and I haven't played with it yet, but it looks like it's brand new, and I'm assuming it will work. So that takes care of those two items that I had checked here. Another thing, I was out mowing the yard earlier in the week, and as I was driving around, I was thinking, I could just get I could put a hitch on my lawnmower and pull it with my mini tractor here. So I just put a hitch on the back of the mini tractor and just pull my lawnmower around. And whether I use a gas push mower, or I've got a little electric one out buried in my garage somewhere, and it's probably like an 18-inch wide cut, and it's got, I think, two lead acid batteries in it and a big DC motor to spin the blade, and that would be a smaller thing that possibly would work better for my pulling behind the mini tractor. But I thought, well, if I'm going to try to pull something, number one, do I have enough power to actually pull the thing at full power? Can it move it around? And then secondly, I thought I should make sure I can measure the current while I'm doing these experiments, so I know how much current it takes to pull that. And technically right now I do have current sensors on my on this vehicle. And currently it is published into ROS. So I do have that information available. And the other thing I thought would be handy, I've got one of those 30 amp Citron driver boards that's running my main motor. And I thought what I could do is get those little one wire temperature sensors. I think it's a Dallas DS18B20, I think is what the part number is. And you can either get it in a, do I have one laying here? You can get you can get it as a cable, and it's got a little metal shroud on the end. That's about, about the size of a pen. And then then it's got the cable coming out here and just a metal thing here, or you can just buy it as like a TO92 transistor. So I figured if I get the ones that are transistors, just super glue those onto a couple of the MOSFETs and then be able to monitor that. So as it's driving around, I can tell if I'm going to burn up my MOSFETs, or is it drawing too much current, or number one, does it have enough power to actually move the lawnmower around. So that's just more mental exercises I went through on all that stuff. So I was thinking, if you got to the point where you have a fully automatic lawnmower, let's see, you say go mow the yard, it wakes up and says, oh, let me open the garage door. They can drive out, and then if you've already got the lawnmower hooked on it, I guess you'd have to be, if you're going to use the gas powered one, you have to manually start that, so it's not quite as cute as it could be. But if I'd use the electric lawnmower, then theoretically just a wire going back to a relay and say fire up the blade, and away it goes. So that if I run out of things to do, or I could just add these to my list of things I'm never going to do, that's probably how far this is going to go. And I guess that's about all I had to talk about this time. And actually, if any of those items sparks anybody's interest, we can, let me know in one of these meetings. We can go through and theorize how to do this and decide what to do about it. Say what's the advantages and disadvantages, and what problems is it going to cause. And my screen just blanked out, so I don't know. Are, are
You're
you
still
still
fine. You're still
okay?
fine on my end.
Okay, so I've been having all kinds of problems with computers and internet lately. So,
I think they
so
might find interesting how heavy was your plotter that you had to move out of your basement.
I don't know, it was probably 200 or 300 pounds. I'd say probably at least 200 pounds. It was just a real pain to move. It's an HP 7580B, I think is what it is. If anybody wants to look it up to see what it was, but I was able to muscle it into my car and strap it down. I found that if you're moving anything big in your car, strap it down if you can, because otherwise, when you hit the brakes or accelerate, it's sure enough to slide back and smash out your back windows. So I had it hooked down with a couple of pieces of wire to some little lugs in the car to keep it from moving around. And it was in there like four weeks or so with all this screwing around trying to get rid of it. Anyway, I got it unloaded, and so I'm much happier with that now. So that's all I got.
Okay. For me, the reason Facebook Marketplace is up is I was on earlier looking for something and I saw a $50 I don't know if it was electric or gas buggy, but I can't find it now. So I'll talk about what I was really going to talk about. So last week, this was the state of my plan for cutting a particular area. And I wanted to focus on this area, moving from going on the outer rims to the stripes. And I had to shorten these paths. And this, by the way, what I'm looking at is my Jupyter Notebook, which is up on GitHub. It's not real time updated, but it's updated every couple of days when I post my stuff. So anyway, I made progress a little bit in integrating those, or figuring out how I wanted to integrate those plans. And I just put a start point out here. And like Jeff said, just let it run. And that worked. And then I started messing around with looking at the angles. And now I've got a bit of a mess because it's not terribly easy to make this bigger, but you can see the lines are intersecting. So I've screwed something up is the bottom line. So made some progress, but broke something, and so I've got to go back and figure out why it was doing that. And I had it so that this transition point, it just came down here and made a loop and came up here and made a loop, which was perfect. Now it's wanting to go out here to the right, which might violate my sort of arbitrary line that I don't want to go further out that way. So where that leaves me is just continuing to work on um, cleaning up the process of making a path.
Another quick solution to that thing you just talked about where you showed that loop and said it's either going the wrong way or it's going out of bounds. Just simply start with your lawn tractor inside the whole path. Don't start outside like you're doing. Just move it, start your lawn tractor inside and let it drive to the point. And that way it's all going to stay within your area you're going to mow anyway.
Let me see if I can understand that by showing you. Well, boy, it's taking a long time to get there. So this is this would be the ring, what I refer to as the ring path. So it would do this blue line first, and then path index 1, and then 2, and then 3, which is the outermost ring. Is that what you're referring to?
No, I'm just simply saying that you showed a picture and you said your lawn tractor's off to the right of what the area you're trying to mow. And then in order to get back over, it was making a loop and driving around outside of your path. I'm just saying, start with your lawn tractor inside of the path, anywhere you want. And then just that way it makes its loops to get to where it needs to start. You're already in an area you're gonna mow anyway, so you're not running out of the outside of the area. If you pull up that last picture you just had that showed he said they're crossing over and it was starting outside. You
Yeah,
can
I
pull
can
up.
do. I can do that. Let me just, before I do that, this point right here where I'm circling, that's like the last point of the path, and then it went this way, and I would rather it just go down this way. So that's what I'm hoping I can get it to do. But the previous image was right there.
Okay, now that you found that, if you go back up, you had it without the loops on it. Just scroll back up the whatever the last image was.
Yeah.
That right there. So rather than where you got the start is way off to the area where you're mowing, I'm just saying move that point either closer or move it inside of your pattern over here. So just move it, keep going left.
Mm-hmm.
Just simply just pick a new start point that's inside, and that way I think it will work out for you.
Okay. So
And how do you determine that start point? Is there just a spot on the ground that you know where it's got to go, or is it you drive to it ahead of
yeah,
time? You say go from the garage and drive to that point. Is that how you get there? Or?
effectively, yeah, it's basically the say the tractor is parked here, and I just pull up in here, and I would start to go down here. So it's an arbitrary point selected based on where the tractor was parked. So it could be anywhere.
And if you're willing to put one extra step in there, just have a step that says go from my current location to whatever you want that start point to be. The monitor keeps kicking on here. Oh, the cable's loose. Anyway, it's back on again. So if you generate this whole pattern, but before you start, just drive out in the yard somewhere and just have one thing that runs that says take my current location, and then you define that starting point on your blue line there and say do that. So the thing would just calculate its own path in real time and drive to that point, and then start up your thing that says you're at the first point on your blue line there, and then fire it up and say go from there. That'd be another way to get around that.
Good idea. Yeah, so I got to play around with multiple options and try to figure that out. Just sort of notes, random comments. Previously, we talked about picking up trash bins with a robot, and I came across this apparatus that you can put on the bucket of a tractor and pick up, in this case, 2 trash bins. I just thought that was interesting. I was going to post that in the chat. Where's the chat? How do I get back to the chat? Where's the chat? Oh, I know why.
You might be able to go down the tab at the bottom, the one that says the blue one says ZM. If you click on that, that might bring up, or is that the window that's showing right now? I
That's,
found that when I get lost like that, there's usually something you can click on the bottom that just brings back the whole, brings back to the main thing.
and the other thing that I thought was interesting, and I put it in the chat, this outfit called Polycam, Polycam, they have this now less expensive tool to do what's called photogrammetry. I mean, people have been doing photogrammetry for a long time. Um, and basically it's you take pictures of something and it can create a 3D model. And it's not Yoda that I would be interested in creating a 3D model of, but my robot, just like Jeff has a picture of his, above his shoulder and his background. It would be interesting, I think, to be able to, like, people want to see what your robot looks like. You could show them the actual 3D model of it. The next step might be to actually create a URDF based on the model, which I'm sure is PhD level computer science stuff, but still would be interesting in it. This stuff used to be super expensive. These guys, they have a free model and then they have a $99 a year subscription model. There's other stuff you can do with it, but the making the 3D model I thought was an interesting use case for it. Anyway, those are a couple of things that I just wanted to share. You're on mute, by the way.
Does that have like a dedicated camera, or do you use your cell phone to do that?
You
That
use
type.
an you use a cell phone, and you can either take it with just straight pictures or with the more current, like I think maybe 2 or 3 year old iPhone. It has something called a LiDAR lens. I didn't realize it, but it has it'll spit out LiDAR frequencies. And so the iPhone is a little bit better than a non-iPhone, but you can do it with both.
So another question I had, you keep showing that big path that's going to mow your entire yard. Have you given any thought as to if you're driving along and for some reason you have to stop, either something breaks or your computer resets or whatever, do you have a way to go back and start from that point, or do you
I
just would you have to do the whole thing completely over?
I have to test it, but um, I would keep track of last position mode and be able to return to the last position mode. So it's not tested, but that's what I was preparing for.
Okay, I just wonder if you had thought about that. That was when this all started back in Ross agriculture. People were saying, "Yeah, we'll just generate a path for the entire field or the entire yard." And I kept thinking, well, what happens when it craps out on you and you have to, restart somewhere out in the middle? And so I was just hoping you were thinking about that as you're moving along here.
Yeah, because no doubt it will. I mean, there will be oh shoot moments and having to start. You know, you don't want to have to retrace all of the steps that you've already traced.
Yeah.
Actually, I was thinking as well of posting the posting the progress, in a web style setting, so the guy that's letting me cut grass, he could check out what's the progress of getting his lawn mowed. So it's a simple, I mean, all there are is X, Y coordinates, so it's really very terribly simple.
So
But
as the thing drives around, you keep like an RViz image or something so you can see as it drives around where it's been and what it's doing. 'Cause I'm thinking if you got that and you just had somewhere to put that onto a web page, then you could just go to a web page and watch your thing. Anybody can go and watch you mow in the yard and see what your progress is while it's doing that.
yeah, at the moment when I run, I don't mess around with RViz because I'm what would Kyler call it? Supervised robots. I'm physically there, but yeah, you could do that. I'm more worried about having my thumb on the kill switch so I don't run over something I'm not supposed to run over.
That's one of the best habits you can be in. Yes, if
Hmm.
you're actually worried about that and got it right there handy. So that's a good idea. And we're talking about, well, what if something happens and you have to stop mowing and then start again? I think, well, what if you got animals running out in front of you? And I assume you don't have any sensors on right now. I know Kyler, takes his 20-ton tractors and turns them loose in the field. I don't think he had any obstacle sensors on his vehicles. But I'm thinking, well, what if a squirrel or a rabbit or a deer runs out in front of you? Is the thing smart enough that it's going to shut down, and that could be a cause of that. And like last week, I was saying I was out watching my rabbits in the front yard, and one night I had 6 rabbits in my front yard, all out there playing and just lounging around. And then a couple nights later, I was out there. I could see my 6 rabbits, and then over across the driveway, I could see another one. So we got at least 7 rabbits that are just neighborhood pet rabbits that we have here. And yesterday, I think it was yesterday, or the day before, a deer ran through, and that surprised me. I don't normally see deer in town.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect to see deer in the city as very often, that's for sure.
I assume it started at one side, and every time it gets scared, because it was across the street, standing in somebody's yard. And I just standing there watching, and then I heard a car coming, and it turned around, and looked, and saw a car was coming, so it started running in the same direction. So it thought the car was going to attack it or something. So it took off running as fast as it could down the road. So it probably just started at one side of town and it's just going to keep working its way across until it either gets hit by a car or finds the edge of town and moves out. It's like when we had I think it was a cougar in town, a cougar or
Good grief.
something like that, and it was a big one too, and it ran around in the neighborhood for a while, and then it got hit by a car on one of the major roads out here. So it ran around for like a week, and I don't remember if it escaped from a zoo or where it came from, or if it no, this one, it was a wild one because they said they had it tagged, and they tagged it in like Nebraska, and here it was in the west part of Minneapolis running around in backyards, and that had people a little concerned, but then somebody hit it with their car, and that was the end of it. So
Hmm. Man meets Wild Kingdom.
yeah, and you just don't realize how wild things are until you start watching for this stuff. When you have rabbits in your front yard running around. So I don't think I have anything else.
I think I'm all set.